Hey, what's happening, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about Nate Diaz versus Dan Hooker at 170 pounds. Nate recently had an interview with Ariel Helwani, expressed interest in fighting Dan Hooker at 170. Wow, that's an interesting one. Let's not waste any time and get right into this fight. All right, so Nate Diaz, 35 years old, 6 foot tall, 76-inch reach, mixed martial arts record, 20 wins, 12 losses, 5 KO wins, 11 subs, 2 losses via striking stoppages, KOs, TKOs, and 1 loss via sub. So Nate pretty much gets stopped roughly 9% of the time in his fights overall, and he finishes 50% of his opponents. Dan Hooker, 30 years old, 6 feet tall, 75-inch reach. His MMA record is 20 wins, 10 losses, 10 wins via KO, TKO, 7 wins via sub, 2 losses via KO, TKO, 2 losses via submission. Dan gets stopped 13% of the time in his fights, and he has finished 57% of his opponents. So between Nate and Dan, breaking down their records and percentages, it's a testament to how tough these guys are. So out of all of Nate's fights, only 9% of the time he's been stopped. Dan Hooker, 13%. Yeah, you're not going to finish these guys easy. And they're both finishing 50% or more of their opponents. Pretty impressive. So little tidbits about Nate. Nate is dangerous throughout the fight, especially with submissions. If you look at his record, he's tapping guys out from the first round all the way to the last round. Now, the people who've had success with Nate, let's say Josh Thompson, who actually stopped Nate, he did that by keeping up with Nate's pace, being gritty, and just pretty much like outworking Nate, beating him to the punch. But the key to that is being able to keep up with Nate pace-wise and cardio. Because if you can't, he's going to wear you out, you're going to fade, and he's going to take the fight over. That's pretty much his MO. But in that fight, Josh faked the right hand. He kind of dipped to the side, threw a high right kick, caught Nate. And that's what I think it just was. He just caught Nate off guard. But of course, he was doing great work. So Nate can be stopped, but it's just not easy. And he's never been finished in the first round. A little bit on Dan Hooker, super durable, super tough. I wouldn't consider him easy to sub or easy to stop via strikes. Pressuring him seems to be effective. We saw Poirier, having success keeping the pressure up. Chandler recently, same thing. He had Hooker on his back foot, looked like he was uncomfortable, and Chandler landed an awesome shot, got the W. So that may be like a little chink in the armor for Dan Hooker when he's not the stalker, when he's not coming forward, putting the pressure. Maybe he kind of has issues, being the prey. And as far as Hooker with his losses, he's only been finished 1 time in the first round. Every other loss, deep into the fight, once again, shows how tough Dan Hooker is. Before I get into the matchup, let's talk about some pros. Nate Diaz, awesome BJJ for mixed martial arts. In general, he's a legit great black belt. If you're on the ground with Nate Diaz, usually it's not good for you. He has good boxing for mixed martial arts. He has a very high volume style. He doesn't really strike with power. Probably like 70%, just pitter patter, wears you down. And he gets stoppages and TKOs, via the pressure and again volume. Just chips away at you. Nate is as tough as they come. Super great cardio, some of the best cardio in the UFC. Super veteran, very experienced. Dan Hooker, kickboxing background. I think he's a pretty high level striker for mixed martial arts. Of course, training partner of Israel Adesanya. So that says a lot. Adesanya has given him a lot of praise. Hooker is mean guy, goes for the finish, tough. He looks like as he continues his MMA career, that his grappling's coming along, his sub defense. So pretty impressive from Dan Hooker, his evolution. Alright guys, so the matchup. How could this fight possibly play out? So first, let's touch on the striking. Flat out, I'm going to give the stand up to Dan Hooker. Boxing wise, Nate Diaz. But overall striking and diversity on the feet, gotta go with Hooker. Nate on the feet is like somewhat one-dimensional. He's primarily a boxer. He just kind of plods forward. Some fights he has head movement. You know, other fights the head movement's like non-existent. But he does have good counters just based off of like proximity, being in the pocket, not afraid to take damage, having a great chin. You know, being within range, he just, you know, counters are great 1-2s. Nate, in my opinion, has shown vulnerabilities, specifically leg kicks. We saw Connor have success and other fighters against Nate. I think that's kind of like a chink in his armor. And again, that's due to like his primarily boxing style. But he does what works for him. I personally think that Dan Hooker is going to tear Nate Diaz's legs up. If he's smart, he will. But the thing is with Nate is that he's so damn tough. He's so capable of like taking damage and coming forward that he just walks you down and, you know, he wears you out with constant pressure. If Nate withstands the damage, he will wear you out through the course of the fight. But again, striking advantage, Dan Hooker. Let's touch on cardio. Well, I think Dan Hooker has some pretty solid cardio. We've seen him get into like high-paced wars, you know, going deep into fights. He does slow down, but, you know, it doesn't look like he completely gasses out. With all that being said, cardio, Nate Diaz. It's one of his best weapons in a fight, and that's widely known. Strength, physicality, Dan Hooker. Fight IQ, Nate gets a lot of flack for kind of being a just scrap kind of guy, not known to be like a big thinker, but he's actually pretty intelligent with his approach to fights. Minus defense for himself sometimes, but fight IQ, I'm going to go with Nate Diaz, and he's a really experienced vet. Grappling department, overall grappling skill, Nate Diaz. Without a doubt, he's a high-level black belt again, but here's the thing, Nate Diaz doesn't have the greatest takedowns. Hooker has some pretty solid takedown defense at 79% versus Nate Diaz's 30%, you know, takedown success rate. I do like Hooker's odds of keeping the fight on the feet. And grappling in BJJ is only effective if you could get the fight to the mat. Alright, so my final pick for this fight, well, in their last 5 fights each, they're 3-2. Hooker has been way more active. The level of competition, pretty comparable. I may give the edge to Nate Diaz due to fighting 2 former champs, Connor and Anthony Pettis. Nate never lacks confidence regardless of his losses. Hooker seemed pretty affected by that last loss to Chandler. It honestly looked like he was going to hang it up. That's relevant going forward for Dan Hooker. I'm leaning towards Hooker via decision 55-45. Because I think he's going to keep the fight on the feet and he has an advantage there. It's winnable for both. Ways to win. Nate's going to have to come forward, pretty much do what he does, you know, to every other opponent. Put the pressure on Hooker, keep him on the back foot, use that reach, volume. Be able to withstand the damage Hooker's going to put out. But it's going to be tricky because Nate doesn't have like stopping power of, let's say, like a Chandler. And Dan Hooker's tough. So Nate's going to have to pack his lunch big time and be ready to take damage. Wear Hooker out, force a takedown, maybe get his back against the cage. If Hooker's gassing, Nate could do some work, you know, clinch, dirty box. If the fight hits the mat, Diaz could possibly get a sub. Now for Dan Hooker, he's going to have to use footwork, keep his back off the cage, avoid clinching, avoid wrestling, avoid grappling. Keep the fight where you're probably going to have the biggest advantage, that's standing. Leg kicks and teep kicks, I think, are going to be crucial in this fight. They're going to keep Nate at bay and do damage. I got Hooker via decision. So that's it, guys. This is my, you know, quick breakdown between Dan Hooker and Nate Diaz. Who do you think wins this fight and why at 170 pounds? If you like the matchup, would love to read your thoughts. Drop them in the comment section. If this is your first time at the channel and you enjoyed the video, consider hitting that sub button, like and share as it helps the channel grow. Appreciate it, guys. You're the best, and until the next one, you all take care.